shuffle.
Okay, give it a shuffle and a cut, to be fair in this case. Okay? Mark, a real magician is going to do an effect under any given condition, good quality magic under any given condition, and it'd be for auto attack or shuffle attack. That's my choice of conditions that I've set upon myself, and everyone calls me crazy. Because usually they're so.
But what is your real name?
Dan.
Dan what? That's what you go under? That's your
Yeah, I know you want my stage name is Rico Suave.
Rico Suave.
I like it.
Gotta love it. So what we're gonna do is name. I'll start with my presentation. I'm in like the chi mode right now.
We have to get in our
Chi mode. It's so great. So Sophia, Chris, Alice. These names have no significance to us or to the average person, but when you add association to them, they become a little bit more. Aunt Sophia, Uncle Chris, Grandma Alice becomes a little more personable to the person who mentions them, and it goes even further when you mention memories or those fond times you've had with them. So I want everyone here to think of someone in your life, okay, or you've met in your life, okay, that you've had warm or fond memories with. Okay, everyone do so and let me know when you're all ready. Okay, I'll keep it a secret. Don't let name it anytime. But Miss, I want you to remain a secret. Don't make me think you're a secret. Just don't make it too long like Ginny Batista, because we'll be there forever. We'll be spilling forever. Okay, but the name you're thinking will help us find the card at the end. Okay. You, sir. I'm going to spread the cards. I'll be right here. I'm going to spread the cards like so. Okay. Or you're going to help us with this. Okay. You're going to be, from this point on, you're going to be doing the shuffle and cutting. Okay. Miss, I want you to think of this person. Okay. Male or female. And I want you to point to any card you would want to associate them with. I know you can't really see the cards because it's face down, but what do you go with? What do you think they would go with? This one right here. Okay. So of all the choices, this one happens to be the one. Okay. So here's what I'm doing. I'm going to look away. You guys peek the card. Okay. Just peek it, toss it back inside the pack, and then shuffle it and cut it again. Go for it. I'm going to look away. I don't want to see it. No trap doors. No special chihuahuas. Got it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Toss back inside. Give it a shuffle and cut it.
Then shuffle. So you shuffle as good as I do.
Ooh, let me know when it's
She's a professional.
right? And to be fair, I'm actually closing my eyes with my eyelids, so this is like no blindfold or anything.
There you go.
Is it kind of turning around?
All right.
You're a better shot. Better shot. One more time.
I can tell you guys are having fun with this. Okay?
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Get shuffle.
Ooh.
Okay. There you go.
Okay, and I can turn it back around. Okay. Just like this. Okay, great. So you guys shuffle and cut it not once but multiple times. So this will make for an interesting effect per se. So cutting the cards wouldn't help much. Looking through the cards won't help much either. So instead, Miss, I want you to hold on to the cards. Okay. And since the cards are on your hand, for the first time you can name the person hopefully that you're thinking of. Judy, J-U-D-Y. Okay. I want you to deal one card for every letter. Right here, J, face down. J, U, D, Y. Okay. And that name will help us to not only know how many cards to deal, but also how many cards to eliminate. So in this example, J-U-D-Y, we'll eliminate this card. J-U-D-Y, eliminate this card. J. Okay, since the beginning, the cards are shuffled and cut. Cards peeked at, tossed back inside, shuffled beyond repair. I looked away, it was beyond my control, and the name Judy Skull. Different name, different effect, different number of cards skull. And we stopped upon one card. Now, this was the card at the end. This one pretty cool.
Yes, it would. Yeah, it would.
May the warm memories resonate with this card. Flip it over for the audience.
It can't.
Thank you guys so much.
Oh my God. Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you.
And may you guys have a wonderful dinner.
You gonna be here
Thank you.
later?
Now we're on to the effect that I would use to fool Penn and Teller. Ooh, doesn't that sound exciting? And it's the usual style of where the cards are shuffled since the very beginning, as per say my usual conditions. Because if you can't do anything in an impromptu situation without setup, what kind of magician are you? That's what I like to think anyways. You don't need to always be set up. Sometimes you just need to make magic happen in impromptu situations. And this is always a nice one to have for more intimate situations, you know? If you have a table and you've got spectators wanting to see something special for evening, I only do this once per evening. It has to be used with a more newish deck. You'll see why in just a bit. But again, this is the one I've used to fool Brent Brom. And I have texts, like Facebook Messenger text, confirming I fooled him 3 times in a row with this effect. So it goes to show how powerful this effect can be. It's one I made in my set, and it's actually, I believe, yeah, it is. It's a closer to my card act. I don't know how much I can hype this up. This is the Himber name card. I hope you enjoy it. So after seeing the performance, again, the cards can be shuffled, but usually you can start on the box or whatever. If this is the main effect, this is the only effect I need to do. Or if you're trying to do a little magic duo, I use this effect to close, and it's hard to follow. You say the idea is this: the cards are shuffled, whatever, I don't care. You go to the miss. It's preferably a lady, because this involves imagery, which appeals more to women than it does for guys. Miss, I address her. I want you to think of a card. I really want you to think of... It's not a card. Sorry, I'm blanking. I want you to think of someone in your life who has meant a lot to you. Okay? And it could be, preferably living, because I don't want to make it too sentimental or, too heartbreaking with someone who, in your past. But I just want you to think of someone in your life that's meant a lot to you. And I want you to keep that name in your mind. Okay? And then you go, okay? And try to not make it such a long one. Maybe shorten down if you can, because Shaniqua Tifa will be here for a good while. And the audience laughs. They get it. Shaniqua Tifa, cool. I actually knew a lady named Shaniqua Tifa. She was our security guard at Kodak Theater. It was a different story. So they think of a name, okay? And I also involved the lady. I said, you know what, come on, join me on stage. And everyone give a round of applause. So she's the gatekeeper to this whole effect, okay? The cards are being shuffled by another spectator, and then they're put on the table eventually. And I say, I want you to, not only that, I want you to think of the memory. I want you to feel the energy that person gave off. Maybe a positive energy, maybe excited energy. Just remember a good memory they had of you, okay? And then using that energy, I want you to cut the pack like resonating energy where you feel it resonates with you. And just, it sounds weird, but I just want you to give a positive vibe. It could be cut nearly anywhere. Just cut the pack. I want you to feel, that energy reside with that person. Like cutting to a card that you feel like resonates with them. And it can be as choosy as you want. So eventually they cut maybe here, maybe less cards, more, you don't know. There is one prerequisite I should mention. You should have decently long fingernails. Not too long, but my nails are extremely short. I keep on cutting them, and so that's a kind of a prerequisite for trick, and makes it harder if you don't have decent long fingernails. There's another tip which I'll cover right now, but you kind of need longer fingernails. So I'm doing this on a handicap. I'm kind of handicapping myself here. So they cut the pack, let's say here. They cut it near the top, and they say, do you feel like this is the energy of the person? Like they would cut here if you were to mimic it. They go, yes. Okay, so you cut right here, and this will be the card you choose. Now what I'm doing is I'm nail nicking the card, described in Eddie Fields' book, The Artful Dodges of Eddie Fields. And it's very, very minuscule. Some tips on this, if I remove it. Some tips on this, doing it. You want to use your forefinger, the pad, to be able to push it to the nail. Okay, you don't try to do this and do it, it won't work. You need to get the pad of the forefinger as you point, and then as the second point, so this one, and the second point, you hold it, and then you grab the card and slightly push it towards the nail, and then using the nail to nick the card. And hopefully you can see this, that I have nail nicked the card. Hopefully you can see it. I'll try to get it from a good angle. okay? And you want to nail nick the card. It's never seen by spectators. It's very minor. And you would just say, okay, I want you to just peek the card. They barely peek it, and they don't see the little mark you made. Never do. And then they toss it back inside the pack. It could be here. It could be really anywhere. But you say, I'm going to so there, okay, cool. And I'm going to look away. And what I want you to do is, and it's a little tip from Rhett Braun before I continue, is as you're pointing at it and you do the technique, you look away as you're doing it so it doesn't think like it's a mark deck and you're staring at it. Another tip is if they cut deeper, you can nick it another side, like another portion right here. On the if you nicked on the right side, you make a mental note. You nick it on the left side, so you can be able to do it again. And after the performance, you want to undo the nick by using your fingernail to straighten it out, so you can do it again. Need it be. So you nail nick it as you look away, and so I want you to just peek the card, okay? And then after you peek it, toss in either pile, and then shuffle everything up. Okay? Now because people think I'm using something weird, or that I may be looking, or have reverse mirrors, what I tend to do in my performance, and this is actually pattern, and it's what I actually do, is I tend to cover my eyes like this. Because I think blindfolds are fake, and that you can see through the bottom. And this is even before I knew that you could do that with blindfolds. I didn't think it was really fair. So if you do this, like hold your fingers right here in front of the audience, how can you see? I like to see someone try to see through this, if you can actually see that my eyes are closed. So you have to literally open your eyes like this. So it makes it fair. And then you can look away, but the audience can see that your eyes are obviously closed. They peek it, toss it anywhere in the pack, and they can shuffle these cards on up. I honestly don't care. Because we got the nail nick, we are set. Now what John Armstrong would do in this case is he would be putting his head down like this in his performance, and he's staring at the deck so he can maybe get a pre-idea of where the card could be at. Because if it's not on one side, then he knows it's on the other and you can cut the deck real fast. But I just like to start out impromptu. Or totally blind. I'm going to this totally blind. Figuratively and literally. Not a joke on John Armstrong. I respect his work and love him to death. But we have the cards shuffled like a madman. And one other way you can do this is you could have done this way and just washed the cards. In case they didn't shuffle enough or it doesn't seem fair enough, this is the greatest way to do it. And so now everyone's convinced that the cards are shuffled. And as you're doing this, as you're scoring up all the cards, you can briefly get an idea right here if there is a nick or not. And then you can be able to flop to the other side. So it's like you're squaring the cards one final time. But I noticed when I was squaring all the cards up after the wash, I noticed that the nick is right here. So I see it, and then I riffle to it, and I add one card to that riffle. So there's one card above the peaked card, and then I cut it. The logic for this, and let me put it back. The logic for this is after you find it, you say, okay, I want to be pretty much hands off for most of this thing. Or I wouldn't mention that. I mentioned that since the beginning, but I just said, and you shuffle these yourself. I looked away, you peeked it, you tossed it inside the pack, and after doing the wash, okay, cutting the cards wouldn't really help much, and adding cards wouldn't really help much either. Okay, you could say that's what John Armstrong did, or you could say adding cards wouldn't help much either, and then set it back, and then you're set. Sometimes I do this subtlety where after I've, let me get it back, here we go. I just can see the peak card, cut to the top, and then I add 3 cards, and then I can take it off, square it up, add a shoulder and take it to the bottom, and then set it there. But, you really play to it. And just again, you got to make your nick, sure your nick is deep enough, but not too deep that the audience sees it clearly, but you want to make it deep so you can see it and not have to search for like a whole minute. Eddie Fields was having trouble with it, and the fact that we could do it in such close quarters is crazy, because in the original version, Eddie Fields would leave the room and then come back with a card. So you see him walking in and out of the room in his book, The Artful Dodges of Eddie Fields. We're not going to do that here. We're going to have fun, because we're going to make this an actual effect. That's fooled many, many, many magicians. Everyone who I've ever performed it for has been fooled. Okay, so now we know it's on second from the top, okay? Now we're going to do the Himber spelling. The Himber spelling, which was found in Daryl's Revelations Volume 1. It was one of my first DVDs in my 12 years of experience that I ever got my handle on. And man, it was a great DVD. I think it was given to me by my friend Sean or Carlo. I cannot remember. It was long, long ago, but it was a DVD I cherish to this very day. And in there was the Himber name card, which I thought was a really cool revelation. And it's not so much about dealing as it is about eliminating cards. So the cards are off. You hand this to the spectator. So you do the brief cut, and you hand it to the spectator, I don't want to touch the cards. Okay? And then you take in a dealing position. You tell them to take in a dealing position, and they do so. This is in their hands. And so you say, now that the cards are out of my hands, what was this name? What was the name of the card that... Sorry, not the name of the card. Excuse me, sorry. The name that you were merely thinking of, miss. And they would say, Ashley. And I go, cool, Ashley. I won't ask further why the name Ashley, but I know it means a lot to you, right? And they go, yes. So Ashley, A-S-H-L-E-Y. You ask for the spelling because there's a billion different ways you can spell a billion different names. You know, you can like Margot, M-A-R-G-O, or M-A-R-G-E-U-X. You don't know. You have to ask and confirm about the spelling. So A-S-H-L-E-Y, 6 letters, good. Now, the spelling changes if it's 7 or 9 letters, okay? If it's 7 or 9 letters, this only works up to 9 letters, by the way. That's why you try to cut down the name by saying Shaniqua Tifa. You don't want to choose a name like Shaniqua Tifa to cut it down the name a bit. So if 7 or 9 letters, you deal the cards in reverse. Okay? And then after you spelled out the name, so let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So after you reversed it, dealt it to a table, so you tell them to deal it to a table, and they've dealt it to a pile of 7 cards. Again, you don't want to touch the cards. I'm only doing this for demonstration purposes. They would deal it to a pile, and now you would deal out like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the 7-letter name. Now the dealing has repositioned where it would normally be right here from the spelling, 1, 2, 3, like the second card from the top. Now reverse count to right here, and for 7 or 9 letters, when you finish the spelling, it will land right here, and that's the 4 diamonds, the card. Okay. Now. And so 7 or 9 letters, you just, we'll go into the spelling later, but just know this: with 7 or 9 letters, you first deal the pack into a pile. You have the spectator deal into a pile, and then deal out the name, left to right. And then you spell left to right, and then eliminate cards to get this one. If it's just a regular name, between, 1 to 8 letters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8 letters, then you don't have to worry. 1 card, you deal it off and say, what's the name of your card? Bam. 2 cards, 1, 2, and then you could just say, what was the name of your card? You would just actually deal it to pile. I'm just counting the scenarios for dealing to pile. What was the name? Al, A-L. What's the name of your card? Bam, you hit it. 3 cards, it actually naturally eliminates itself, so it's second from the top. Sam, S-A-M, just 3 letters, yes. S-A-M, eliminate, S, and we're going to spell, so we say to spectators is, we're going to spell down to the card to get to it, okay? And we'll eliminate cards to get to it. So, for example, S-A-M, eliminate this card, and you set it aside. S-A-M, eliminate this card. And then when they put a box on top or their hand on top, and they are holding on for dear life. You build up the tension. You made sure you secretly take a look and make sure you got the mark on it, the nick on it. And you're all set. You could even show with John Armstrong. It adds a build up to this. You can show the other cards, isn't it? Build it on up, and then they say the card resonates with your name and the way we spelled it. And just everything is all one. Everything is one for this moment. And you can turn it over. And they do, and then the crowd reacts really hard. And it goes for the same, like 4 letters, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm trying to face up just for explanation purposes. Brad. I'm just thinking of a name for 4 letters. B-R-A-D. Eliminate. B-R-A-D. And again, we're explaining. Again, we always explain. Now with the name Brad, we're going to use that name to eliminate cards down to 1. So for example, B-R-A-D, eliminate, B-R-A-D, eliminate. B, you can go slow on this, R-A-D, eliminate. And then you build up the same way, and then ta-da, and they are freaking out. Cool. Okay, so let's say, wait. Actually, it's not 7 or 9. There is an error I made. It's 5 or 7, I believe. I haven't tested 9. It's 5 or 7 letters. My apologies. My immense apologies. Well, it's a jam session, so you can watch the whole thing through, so you don't have to worry about it. So let's say it's Mandy is the name, okay? And I'm doing this for explanation purposes, so that's on top. So Mandy, M-A-N-D-Y. You have the spectator deal 5 cards right here to the table first, and then they deal it out, M-A-N-D-Y. And now I can eliminate cards to get to it. So now we're covered by the situation. And you can play with this yourself to see what works and what doesn't for you. But again, it's 5 or 7 letters. My apologies. M-A-N-D-Y, M-A-N-D-Y, M-A-N-D-Y. And I'm not giving the explanation of the whole thing because you would already know to add pattern to this, to Y. M-A-N-D-Y. Eliminate, and you nailed it. So 5 to 7, you got it. Now let's say in the odd case, you're going to ask yourself, hypothetically, what if they decide to screw you over? And let's say they decide to go for Shaniqua Tifa anyways, or you just do it, and they just want to screw with you to test your gall or your manhood or womanhood if you're a female performing magician. I'm like, okay. Magdalene was the one in John Armstrong Magic Volume, I can't remember 1 through 3. It's just John Armstrong Magic, okay? And they named Magdalene, which is just a bunch of letters. And we already know it's more than a bunch of them. Let's just say this many, okay? They don't give a crap about us. They just want to screw us and see what happens, how we handle it. Well, since we don't have to reverse it because we can't spell to that, and we don't want to eliminate it, we just do equivocate at that point. And in the performance for John Armstrong's, which is quite hilarious, the lady puts her hand on top of 1, and she puts it right on top of the selection, and then he eliminates all the cards, which is hilarious. And he can show all of them, and then that they're not the selection, and then builds it up, and then turns it over, and that is like a I don't know how you could beat that. It's a miracle. So if they just decide to screw you and go for a longer name, then just do equivocate for a longer name and you're fine. And it's such a beautiful, strong effect that it's destroyed spectators really hard. It gets them to think in a new way of card magic. It isn't just, here, pick a card, and you're going to have to find it. That's what people think of card magic. Just pick a card and I'll find it. And it saddens me to no end, which is why everything you see goes counterintuitive to that, to get people to change their minds about it and think, wow, you're a great performer. You didn't start off by make me pick a card. Oh, what's going to happen to this card trick? You're going to find it. But in this one, it's more about the name, the build-up, all that. And yeah, sure, you do find the card, but it's about the personal resonation. There's all these different factors to make it amazing. And that you didn't just straight up pick a card. You just had one basically thought of. It was barely peeked. And that's what the spectators remember. They just barely peeked the card. They shuffled it. They handled it. They shuffled it even before the trick began. This person was thinking of a name and I couldn't thought of it. It's like I predicted or read their mind of the name. So all that together makes for a beautiful closer that would fool all magicians. And I am willing to bet Penn and Teller as well. All that said, I thank you for your time and enjoy Himber name card, one of my all-time favorite card tricks.